You have not seen a fight night this stacked in a very, very long time. This weekend is UFC Qatar in Doha, Qatar. Tsarukyan versus Hooker. Massive main event, massive co-main event, stacked card from top to bottom. Crazy the privilege and quality of card that the Middle East fans get when they book these massive cards. It's cool, great for us as fans, but holy shit, I wish the US fan base could get a little bit of love on a stacked fight night card. So in this video, we're going to be doing a full card breakdown and prediction for UFC Fight Night Tsarukyan Hooker in Doha, Qatar. If this is your first time seeing my channel, my name is Wyatt. This is Fight Society, and let's get into it. We start here with the prelim opener. We have two UFC debuting fighters. That's why they do not have photos on the UFC website. Marek Bujlo against Denzel Freeman. Bujlo coming from Poland and Freeman coming from the United States. Bujlo is a great grappler, better grappler at least than Freeman, but Freeman is the better athlete and has great knockout power, whereas Bujlo, not so much knockout power at heavyweight. That makes me kind of worried, especially when you're going up against a better athlete in Denzel Freeman. Both of them bright lights, UFC debut on a massive card to open the night. I'd say especially with this fight being at heavyweight, Denzel Freeman with a little bit of a weight advantage at 265. And even though Bujlo is taller, they do have the same reach. So I'm going to go with Denzel Freeman by first round KO in this fight, moving up in the UFC. Debut, knockout in the Middle East on a massive card. Good for him. I say Denzel Freeman, round 1 KO. We move up the card to one of the higher profile debuts this year. Of course, it's not a patchy mix or anything like that. Nurullo Aliev going up against Shem, big time prospect from the UK, 12-1-1. In the lightweight weight class. Paddy Pimblett's teammate versus 10-0 Nurullo Aliev. Shamrock brings high-paced chaos to the fight where Nurullo Aliev wants a slow, grinded out, wrestle up against the cage type of decision. And I think that given the fast starter that Shamrock is, he's going to have a good showing in the first round, but Nurullo Aliev is going to grind it out and end up getting a 29-28 decision after a tricky first round with Shamrock. Now, I want Shamrock to win this fight. I like Paddy Pimblett. I want to see these Cage Warriors guys do well, but I am going to take Nurullo Aliev. Moving up the card from there, we have Ismail Naurdiev coming off of a loss, 24-8 in his career fighting out of Morocco, going up against a Ultimate Fighter winner coming off of a loss in his UFC debut, Ryan Loder. Now, Naurdiev, vastly more experience at 24-8 compared to Ryan Loder's 8-2. He has cleaner striking. He has good takedown defense. And given the fact that he's going up against Loder, who is a great grappler and jiu-jitsu guy, great wrestler and jiu-jitsu guy, I think that Loder, if he's going to win, is going to be an early submission where he gets the takedown, gets to the back for a rear naked choke, or locks up a head and arm choke like a Darce or an Anaconda from the front headlock position. But I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think that over 15 minutes where Naurdiev can defend the takedown multiple times, implement his cleaner striking that he has, that his experience is going to shine through over the course of 15 minutes. I am going to take Naurdiev by 30-27 decision, maybe 29-28. I could see Loder getting the first round, kind of similar to the Shamrock fight, but I'm going to take Ismail Naurdiev by 3-round decision. I think Ryan Loder is going to be 0-2 to start his UFC career after winning the Ultimate Fighter, and Naurdiev is going to be moving up in the division. We move on to a very highly anticipated fight in the bantamweight division. We have Bekzat Almakhan and Aleksandre Topuria, Ilia Topuria's brother. Now, Aleksandre Topuria, not very experienced, 6-1, but it's because he put his career on hold to coach and aid Ilia Topuria to become the double champion that he is now. Bekzat Almakhan, I remember watching him against Umar Nurmagomedov in his UFC debut, dropping Umar in the first like 30 seconds of the fight. I actually think it was my very first fight companion on this channel. I think it was on the Jairzinho Rosenstruck Shamil Gaziev card at the Apex. Bekzat Almakhan is very dangerous, especially early. We saw that in the Umar fight. Aleksandre Topuria has the grappling, the pressure, the high-level experience training his brother, and also the cerebral fight mind, the advanced fight mind that he is, being his brother Ilia Topuria's head coach. I'm going to go with Bekzat Almakhan coming out hot. Maybe he has a tricky moment where he clips Aleksandre Topuria and it gets tricky for a minute. Maybe Topuria's got to shoot a takedown to save himself after getting wobbled. The pressure and the mind that Aleksandre Topuria has, I'm going to go with Aleksandre Topuria by 30-27 decision or late finish, like a ground and pound finish late in the fight. I got Aleksandre Topuria late decision or late finish. We move up the card to debuting Abdul Rakhman Yakhyaev, fighting out of Russia, going up against Rafael Cerqueira, who is 11-3 overall, coming off of a loss. We have the young undefeated prospect in Abdul Rakhman Yakhyaev, and then we have the older power puncher in Rafael Cerqueira. We have seen Cerqueira have good performances, but he's giving up the age, he's giving up the reach. He has the height here. And part of me is worried that Abdul Rakhman is just a total bum that is getting put on this card in a debut because of the region that it's in. I hope that that's not the case, because I am going to go with Rakhman via submission in the third round after Cerqueira gasses, tries to get the knockout, doesn't get it, gasses out. And from there, I think Rakhman gets a round 3 submission. There definitely could be some tricky moments for Abdul Rakhman, but I am going to take him to get the win via submission late in the fight. So we move up to a very high-level matchup in the flyweight division. We have Alex Perez, ranked number 8, going up against number 9, Asu Almabayev. Asu Almabayev, very, very good, 22-3. We watched him eye poke to hell by Manel Kape. And Alex Perez has not fought since about June, where he had his knee blown out while Tatsuro Taira was backpacking him. So it was an injury TKO, but it was a TKO, not like a doctor stoppage or anything like that. It was an injury caused by a technique. And while Perez has the hands and his calf kicks and veteran grit could make this really interesting because he's been in the game a long time, Asu Almabayev is the more stable, more consistent in performance type of fighter. And he's got more momentum coming off of a win. I think he could be a top 5 guy in the weight class, whereas Alex Perez might be over the hill in that regard. And that's why I'm going to take Asu Almabayev in a competitive decision. I think 29-28, very close rounds because Alex Perez is a dog. He's been around for a while. He's got that veteran experience, but he's coming off of an injury, and Asu Almabayev is coming off of a win. He's got some momentum. I got Almabayev via a top-heavy grappling decision. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members-only live streams, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video. We move up the card to a welterweight matchup between Nicolas Dalby and Saygid Izagakhmaev. That's crazy. But you have 23-6-1 with 2 no contests, Nicolas Dalby versus 22-2, Saygid Izagakhmaev. Now, Dalby is tough as nails. We've seen that a million times in his career, but he's 41 years old. That wear and tear has started to show in recent fights. We've seen him look slower. We've seen him take damage and not respond to shots as well recently, whereas Saygid, he's in his prime. He's a very, very dominant level Dagestani wrestler with a suffocating style. Little bit of lay and pray type of vibe sometimes, but especially given where they are in the world, the judging is going to be in his favor. So even if he isn't doing a whole lot of damage, we will see him get the dub here. Saygid Izagakhmaev by very dominant decision. I think 30-27, boring fight, boring fight, with a lot of top pressure. Dalby's going to try to dog it out and make it ugly, but I think that the top pressure and the wrestling from Saygid is just going to be too much for Dalby, especially at this point in Dalby's career. So I have Saygid by 30-27 decision. We move on to another massive prospect matchup on the card involving another one of Paddy Pimblett's teammates, Luke Riley. Now, Bogdan Grad is the opponent for Luke Riley, and they do both have very entertaining styles. Bogdan Grad is dangerous, but he's very, very hittable. And the fact that Luke Riley is he's a star. He was a Cage Warriors champion, if I'm not mistaken. He's a pressure boxer with serious power, great body work. I think that work in the body is going to be very effective in this fight, especially if Bogdan Grad, who's very hittable, starts to get hurt in this fight. He's going to shoot panic takedowns, and I think that body work and the boxing stance that Luke Riley has sets him up perfectly to defend those double legs. I think he's going to hurt Bogdan Grad on the feet. Bogdan Grad's going to shoot a panic takedown because he's hurt. Luke Riley's going to defend it, start peppering him up, and I think we're going to get a Luke Riley TKO. I think he gets cracked, panic takedown, gets defended, and he just starts lighting him up. Head, body, head, body, leg kick up against the fence, drops him, finishes him up against the fence. I have Luke Riley by KO. I think he's going to be a massive star in the featherweight division. He is nasty. All right. So we move up from there to the return of the Gooch, all right? You see it, return of the Gooch, Kyoji Horiguchi, 34-5, going up against Tagir Ulanbekov, who's ranked number 11 in the flyweight weight class, 17-2. Dagestani, Team Khabib. I believe he might have been involved in the fight at Madison Square Garden with Dylan Dennis last week. But at the same time, if he was fighting this weekend, he may have already been in Qatar. I would assume it wouldn't really make sense for him to be in America a week before a fight in Qatar when there's the climate change and the time change to adjust to. So Kyoji Horiguchi, absolute legend, big name, especially for the flyweight weight class. He actually main evented a UFC pay-per-view against DJ where he lost. He's a legend, so skilled, but he's definitely aging. And as much as I would like for him to win, he is going up against Tagir Ulanbekov, who is younger, longer, has that grinding style that he's just going to grind out, doesn't care if it's boring. And of course, given the region that they're in, I hate to always do this, but it's well documented, the Dagestani fighters fighting in the Middle East, it's unfair judging. We know this. So even if Kyoji Horiguchi has a solid showing, I think he's going to have to basically finish Tagir Ulanbekov to get a win. And even though the striking definitely favors Horiguchi, the Gooch, the scoring, of course, because of the judges, and Tagir Ulanbekov's control, I think is going to be enough to mitigate Kyoji Horiguchi. And these judges are going to reward the grappling. Even if Kyoji Horiguchi hurts Ulanbekov on the feet, Ulanbekov with a grinding style for 3 rounds, he's going to get a 29-28 or even like a 30-27 decision where people go, what the fuck? They gave all 3 rounds to Tagir Ulanbekov? But I think he's going to win. I would love to see Kyoji Horiguchi win, but I don't think it's going to happen. I got Ulanbekov by decision. Moving up from there, we have Shamil Gaziev going up against what was supposed to be Sergey Spivak, but due to an injury and a pullout, we actually have Waldo Salsa Boy Cortez coming in after fighting 3 weeks ago against Ante Delija, where he got poked in the eye, stayed in the fight, all very controversial, but got poked in the eye, stayed in the fight, and then ended up getting a TKO of himself after the fight. Looked like it was stopped via TKO. I would love for Waldo to win this fight. He's literally flying in right now. Like he accepted the fight yesterday on Wednesday. It's heavyweight, so he's really not going to have to cut. But he's flying in from Cuba. Is that where he's from? I don't know if he trains in Cuba or if he lives in America, but he's flying halfway across the world to fight on 2.5 days notice. He was not ready for a fight. Like, of course, he accepted it, but there's no way he was in training camp for a fight, given that he just fought 2.5 weeks ago and got a big win. I would love to see Waldo Cortez Acosta just be like, no blueprint, no plans, just rob the bank with no plans, just fly to the Middle East, grab a check and fly back. But he is going up against the GOAT in Shamil Gaziev, 14-1. And of course, Gaziev being, who he is, and with his name ending in EV, it's going to be tough. Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to have to get a knockout to win this fight. And that's why, even though Waldo is durable, has good volume for heavyweight as well, and survives quite a bit of chaos like we saw last week or 2 weeks ago. Gaziev is dangerous early, but gasses out, and his gas tank is a real liability. We saw him quit on the stool via obesity, as MMA Guru said, against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. I really think that I could see Shamil Gaziev getting a TKO in the first round. But if it gets past that, I think Waldo Cortez Acosta wins. So this is really tough for me. I went into this thinking I was going to pick Gaziev. Yeah, I'm going to pick Gaziev. Short notice. I think that and the time change, climate change, all of that, especially the short notice, is going to affect Waldo. In a full camp, I'd probably pick Waldo Cortez Acosta. But in this fight, I'm going to pick Shamil Gaziev round 1 or 2 TKO. Hurts him up against the fence with big shots, drops him, ground and pound while he curls up. Shamil Gaziev, round 1 or 2 TKO. We move up the card to a very interesting and weird matchup because Jack Hermansson is coming down from 185 to 170, and Miktabek Otobai is moving up from 155 to 170. So we have essentially a 2 weight class difference. One guy's coming down, one guy's coming up. The size is, I know it says 6'1" and 5'10", but the size difference is going to be crazy. I understand why Jack Hermansson moved down because he's definitely been out physicality'd and outpowered by some of the middleweights. We've seen him get knocked out really nasty by like Gregory Rodriguez and the like. Otobai, this has to be a weight cut issue. I think he missed weight in his last fight. This has to be a weight cut issue where they told him to move up. But frankly, with all of that said, Jack Hermansson moving down to 170 is terrifying for me. The gas tank, he's got a lot of mileage on his chin already. The gas tank, his chin, he's coming off of a nasty knockout loss. And now moving down in weight, whereas Miktabek Otobai has looked good at 155, making weight. And then, of course, he has also missed weight. And so him moving up to 170 is going to be very refreshing for him. More fluid in the brain. He can take a shot better, less depleted, better cardio. And because of that, especially given that Miktabek Otobai is young, physical, really, really mean strength on the mat, whereas Jack Hermansson's going to gas early defending takedowns, in my opinion. And he's got big ground and pound. Otobai's got really, really big, powerful ground and pound. I think he's going to overwhelm Jack Hermansson really, really early. I take Miktabek Otobai with TKO in round 1. If not round 1, maybe early round 2. But I think this is going to be a tough showing for Jack Hermansson, and he gets finished early in the fight. So Otobai by early-ish TKO, late round 1, early round 2. We move on from there to Volkan Oezdemir versus Alonzo Menafield. I'm just going to be really straightforward with this. This is a very classic, like, been in the game a long time versus just an athlete, because Alonzo Menafield has terrible technique. He's just this ball of muscle and KO power, like Joe Rogan says, exploding all over your face. We've seen Alonzo Menafield just run through people. Of course, he got KO'd by Carlos Ulberg early, but I don't like what we've seen out of Volkan Oezdemir in recent years. Just unimpressive, chinny, weak. Honestly, he's never been that good. He's been tricky and skilled, but I've just seen him get his head sent into the 5th row too many times at this point, and he's going up against literally nicknamed Atomic Alonzo Menafield. I have Menafield by like early KO, like the first time he touches Oezdemir's chin. I'm talking first 90 seconds, first 2 minutes. I think Alonzo Menafield nukes Volkan Oezdemir's chin. TKO, actually not even a TKO, just a flat KO win on the feet by Alonzo Menafield. I think it's going to be really nasty. Of course, Menafield gasses out. And so if Oezdemir survives 5 minutes, 6 minutes into the fight, he could turn the tide his way. But I think that Menafield is going to do so much damage early and land big shots that it's going to be a nasty KO win for Alonzo Menafield. We move on to the fights that people really want to talk about. Is as lit and as stacked as this card is. The co-main event and the main event are the main attractions, obviously. That's why they're at the top of the card. But massive card headlined by some massive fights. We have Belal, Bully / remember the name, Muhammad versus Ian Machado Garry. Now, Bilal's coming off a loss to Jack Della Maddalena that in hindsight doesn't look great, considering that Islam really had his way with JDM on the ground. And even though he's coming off that rough loss, he still is a cardio machine. He's got nonstop pressure. He's got pretty good wrestling, and he's got no power, but he wins minutes. He finds a way to win minutes. He's not dangerous, but he is skilled and he understands the scoring criteria to where he wins minutes. Now, there's no way he's going to dominate this fight the way that he dominated Leon Edwards. This is a massively different fight. Ian Garry is bigger, faster, longer, stronger. He's a real sniper on the feet. He has really good grappling to where he nullified MVP. And his footwork and size are like the real advantage here, and they are massive advantages. I think that Ian Garry is going to be able to defend the takedown, keep the fight standing, and just pepper away. And it just feels like stylistically such a terrible, terrible matchup for Belal Muhammad. And it feels like a setup to get Ian Garry into the top 3 in the division, into the top 2 in the division with a win over Belal Muhammad. Unless Ian Garry freezes under heavy pressure from Belal Muhammad, Ian Garry's going to win this one easily. And that's why I don't think he's going to freeze up or struggle with the pressure. He's done well. You know, Jeff Neal pressured him with power shots. He survived Carlos Prates. He almost beat Shavkat Rakhmanov. He's fought some really nasty guys. He beat MVP. His resume is really good. And that's why I'm going to take Ian Garry by dominant 30-27 decision, where Belal Muhammad just looks dumb out there, to be honest. And then we probably see Ian Garry versus Islam. I think that's a fight to make. I think they would frame it as Khabib versus McGregor 2, basically. Now, time for the main event. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. We haven't seen either of them this year. Arman Tsarukyan's last fight was at UFC 300 against Charles Oliveira. He's been pretty active in the grappling scene. He's had 3 or 4 grappling wins against the likes of Benson Henderson. Dan Hooker's been out this year as well. He was supposed to fight Justin Gaethje in the co-main event of UFC 313. And he got injured and ended up being Gaethje versus Fiziev rematch. So both of these guys, even though they're coming off wins, Oliveira for Tsarukyan and Gamrot for Hooker, they've been out for a long time. So ring rust is going to be present for both of them. And while I would love for Dan Hooker to win this fight, I really don't see it happening. Arman Tsarukyan is just a different level from Dan Hooker. Insane pace, good striking, underrated striking. He does get hit, but he has good power. Insane chain wrestling, insane scrambles, superior athleticism. And although he gets a lot of hate for pulling out against Islam Makhachev, which is valid, and he's inactive and kind of a whiny little bitch when it comes to calling for title shots, he absolutely is the #1 contender in this division. I would not be surprised if he gets a title shot against Ilya off of this win. Hooker still has his length, his kicks, his knees up the middle, his dog that he's got, you know, the dog in him, veteran grit, but Dan Hooker's got a lot of miles on the chin. He's been dominated by some heavy grapplers before. I know that Gamrot lost to him, but Islam smoked him. And I think that Tsarukyan is up there with Islam in terms of wrestling skill. Not saying he's as good of a fighter or that he would beat Islam, but he's up there with Islam in terms of skill on the ground. And so that's why I think this is going to be a, frankly, annoyingly dominant win for Arman Tsarukyan. I think he wins the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds, super easy, and gets a round 4 or 5 TKO. If it makes it to the judges' scorecards, it's going to be a 50-45, 50-44. In my opinion, as much as I want to see Dan Hooker win, I don't even think he has any chance at all in this fight. Of course, he has a puncher's chance, but that's about it. I got Tsarukyan dominating and getting like a round 4 TKO or making it to a decision. But Hooker, he's really up against it here. A win would get him a title shot pretty much, or a fight with Paddy Pimblett or somebody like that, or a Gaethje fight. But Tsarukyan's going to dominate this fight. So there is my picks for UFC Qatar. I'll do a fights to make video after the card as well, because I didn't do one for UFC 322. I wanted to let this sort itself out. I wanted to let the big matchups at 170, the big matchups at flyweight right here with Horiguchi, and of course with Alex Perez and Asu Almabayev, Topuria, Almakhan at bantamweight. I wanted a little bit more of these divisions to get sorted out before I did a fights to make video. So I'll be doing a fight companion for the main card on Saturday. Let me know your picks down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.